All right, so today we're going to talk about Sheets and the things you can do with Google Sheets. Again, this will be very basic. I know that Excel and Sheets and formulas and those kind of things are scary to some. We're not going to get into so much as formulas as we are just how to do some things in Google Sheets. So again, as always, we start in our Drive when we want to create something. So like I've been doing, I'm going to go to the folder I want to put the sheet in. Click New, click Google Sheet, and now I know that Google Sheet is going in to that folder, and I won't have to hunt for it later because this is where it's going to be. Okay. Again, as always, first thing we should do is title it just like writing our name at the top of a paper. Let's call it Sheet 1, and we're going to go from here. All right, so I'm just going to start with a basic idea maybe for students. So let's do student name. Let's do unit 1 test. And then what I'm going to do is show you a little quick tip. If I click on the cell and grab right here and I scroll over and over and over and over, it will copy that over. And now all I have to do is double click inside, change it to 2, change it to 3. Another thing you can do is come up here and do it there as well. So you click inside the cell, you go up there in the text box. All right, so I got my students and I got this set up. So I'm going to set up like a basic book here of student grades and just show you how you can keep up with some things in a different manner. We all have our student information systems, our SISs, that does this for us, but you can also do this for your own tracking and make some things something that will be useful to you. So just ideas that I'm throwing out there. I'm just going to put some names on there. All right, so here are some of my students, and I'm going to put some grades in here for these students. We're going to make this an easy test here. Everybody made 100. All right, and for sake of time, I'm going to actually delete Unit 5, and I'm just going to type in some grades here to end this up. Whoops, too many. All right, so I can actually do something here and call this the average for the student. Okay. And then I can call this average for the test so that I can keep up with some things. And then so if I do equals AV, you'll see that I get some ideas here of what it thinks I want to do. And we're just going to talk about average. Okay, so this is going to be the average. And then it tells me what to do. It tells me to pull a value. So I'm going to exit out of this, close this out of my way, and I'm just going to pull all of this data. And then I'm going to close my parenthesis and hit enter. It's averaging that for me. Now, one thing you can do here, that does not look very user-friendly. Right here, it says I can decrease decimal places. So all I have to do is click here, here. I'll just keep clicking, and it will automatically do that for me. Quick tip again, it already knows that I want to take the average of this column from B2 to B8. I can then make that same formula happen across all columns by just clicking on the small square box in the bottom right hand corner and then dragging over, and it automatically pulls those averages for me. Okay, so now I got a nice average of each test, and then I can look at even the student average for each test. So again, I type in equals AVG, whoops. Well, sorry, AV, and then I will see that there is the average right there. I click it, and then I select the data that I want, I close the parentheses, I hit enter, and now I have the average for the student. I drag that down, and then I have that. Now, this would be a null thing. The average of all the averages of the like that's probably not useful data because I have the average per test. But of course you could run this average as well by just dragging this over, and it would give you the average of the average. Again, I don't feel like that's useful data, but you could do that. All right, so here is all the student data. So there's some things you can do here. You can sort and filter this data. The easiest way to me, and I'm going to show you another trick before I do that though. I don't like to have all these extra cells when I'm not using them. So if I click here and I hit Control Shift and I hit my overwrite button, it selects all of those columns, and then I can actually delete columns G through Z. And now that cleans that up, and I can do the same thing, Control Shift down, selects all those, and I can delete those rows as well. And now I got just a nice looking table here instead of dealing with all those extra rows. I can click this button and that will select all of the data, and I can click here and create borders, and there to create better borders. So now it's a lot easier to look at. I can even select all the data and say, you know what, I want it centered and I want it in the center of the box itself. And then watch this. Now that I have all the data selected, I can grab right here and pull down just ever so slightly, and it will actually space all of those out. Same thing with the columns. As long as all of selected, any column I change size, it will resize the entire column. So now this data looks a lot neater, a lot cleaner. It makes it easier for me to see. And I can also just grab one at a time, like I'm doing here, to bring those out. All right, so another thing you can do is you can kind of format this to be a little bit different color, depending on some data, but we're going to get into that in just a minute. All right, so let's say I want to sort this based on student name and then based on student average. Maybe I want to do that, or maybe I want to see it based on just the average overall for the student. What I can do is I can click here, and I can click my filter button, and once I filter that, I can click here, and then I can say sort A to Z, and what it will do is sort from lowest grade to highest grade. I can also click there and sort Z to A, and then that will let me see it in the opposite order of highest to lowest. Okay, now it keeps everybody together, nice and neat, so that you don't have to worry about, wait, did it mess up my data? It will not mess up your data. It keeps it all linked together, so you won't have to worry about your data being all wonky. All right, I can also sort it by name, A to Z. Now notice when I do that, it pulls this up here, and I did that on purpose. If I have that data selected and part of it is formulating from a formula, and I rearrange that to a different area, then it messes that up. So I'm going to undo that and show you how to not do that when you're selecting all this data. So I don't want the average to be part of it. So what I do is I select this area here, and I turn the filter on for that area. Now when I sort A to Z, it does not mess with this here. Okay, so I wanted to do that and show you that on purpose so that you could see the difference. Again, I can sort Z to A. It won't matter. It's only going to do it in the area that I selected. All right, I'm going to turn that filter off. So that's how you sort and filter at the same time. Now, there's also a different way of sorting, and sometimes this is useful. So I'm going to select the data that I want to sort, and then I'm going to come to data and sort range. Okay, so this is a little bit different idea compared to the filter. The filter is for quick sorting, looking at it, figuring something out. A sort range is more permanent. Okay, so when I click on sort range, I click on data has header row, and then I can sort by students' names first, A to Z or Z to A. And then I can add another column and say, you know what, after you sort it A to Z by student name, I want to sort it by the average afterwards. Okay, maybe you want to do it in the opposite order. Maybe you want to say, you know what, I want the average for the student to be highest Z to lowest A grade. And then I also want to do it by student name, A to Z afterwards. So get the highest grade first, and after you get them sorted by highest grade, also then sort it by student's name. So if I click sort now, what it does is it picks the highest grades and sorts them first, and then it sorts by name. You'll see that the names aren't exactly in alphabetic order. It's not supposed to be. It's doing this first, then that. Okay, so that's why you will see Jeff is here, Kara's there, Elena's there, and it's kind of all mixture. So I'm going to show you the other way around. I'm going to sort it here, then there, and you'll see what that looks like. So data, sort range. We're going to put data has a header row. We're going to sort it by students first, A to Z, and then we're going to do it by average of student. Again, highest grade Z, lowest grade A, sort. All right, so now these are in alphabetic order first, and then after that, it will begin doing it by the average, okay? And that's why the averages are a little bit different order. That's also why this is here and that is there. See how that's a higher grade and that's a lower grade? And again, it's alphabetic order here and there. All right, so those are your basic sort features. So again, you can use the sort range or you can use the filter button here. All right, another thing you can do, of course, I'm not going to go too far into this, but you can bold text, italicize text, you can recolor text, you can fill in the area, inside of the cell, all those things, the standard features that you have, okay? But we're going to talk about some conditional formatting as well real quickly before I end the video, because I think that is a very useful tool. Okay, so let's say I want to make these cells turn red or whatever, or let's say actually here. All right, so I want the name to turn red if the average is lower than a 70. Let's say that's what I want to do. So I click Format and then Conditional Formatting. All right, after I do that, I have to apply it to a certain range. So I only want it to be A2 to A8. Okay, that's what I want. I only want those, and I want to format the cells if F, you know what, let's do this easier. I don't want to get into that, actually. Let's cancel that, because I want to do that in course 2. That's going to get a little bit too deep. So let's do a basic conditional formatting. So select all the area again. Let's do format and conditional formatting, and let's leave it for the total area. All right, so I want to do that, and I want to do it if there's anything less than a 70. Okay, so it's going to do that. It's going to pick out all the grades less than a 70. And I don't want them green, I want them a little bit red. Okay, so all I have to do is click there and click done. So now I can easily see the failure grades very quickly. I can see that this student not only has failed these tests, but is also failing with a overall average 4 test. Okay, same thing here. I can see the tests they're failing and also their overall average. I think that's enough with the conditional formatting. I don't want to dive too deeply because conditional formatting can get very, very messy and formula based, and I was about to go that direction, but I think this is enough. I'm going to show you one other thing you can do though. So I'm going to select all that area again, all that data, okay? And so after I do that, I'm going to add another conditional format, okay? So conditional formatting. I'm going to add another rule. And so I want to do it. I like this, is between. So if it's between, let's say, if it's between a 50 and a 60, let's turn that to be yellow. Okay. Do I not have any grades between 50 and 60? I don't. So I'm going to change this between 40 and 60 so that I get some up there. All right. So you'll notice none of them have changed, but watch this. If I rearrange, and I say, you know what, turn them yellow before you turn them red, it will rearrange that data so that I can see the grades between 40 and 60, and then any grade less than 70 is in red. Okay, so if that makes sense, these rules go in order. So this rule trumps this rule. It will go before that rule. So it will recolor grades between 40 and 60 to be yellow, and then any grade that's less than a 70 will be red. But I want the ones specifically between 40 and 60 to be yellow. Those might be my kids that I'm working with a little bit more in depth because they're close, but they're not, they're just a little bit off of that. And so the other ones are just simply less than 70. I can do all kinds of things here. I can do this one is between 60 and 70. Okay, and I want to turn those, I don't know, blue. Those are going to be kids I'm working with. Okay, so now I have between 40 and 60, and then 60 and 70. So it pops out to me. Okay, these are kids I'm going to have to really work with, and then these kids are the ones that I need to do probably just a little bit of work with. Okay, now notice this kid's not failing. This kid is. So this might be the kid. This might be the one, okay, this one needs a little bit more extensive work than everybody else. Not only do they have a grade between 40 and 60 on a unit assessment, they're also failing tests. This one has a grade between 40 and 60, but they're not failing the class as an average. So I may not need to do as much work with them. Those are the kind of conversations you can have with this conditional formatting. It brings this data to light in a lot easier format. All right. Not going to get too much into charts because conditional formatting does a lot of that for you. Charts will probably be in the second course, and we'll dive really deep into those. So I hope this video was helpful and that it gave you some insight on the basic use of Google Sheets, how to get in here, how to do some conditional formatting, how to use a basic formula for student averages. Of course, schools are data rich now. There's plenty of data out there for you to look at. Just showing you how you can do some things on your own. Hope this was helpful.